I'm earning $2,000 a year of passive income on my stablecoins by using Anchor Protocol on the Terra blockchain. Anchor Protocol is the gold standard for crypto savings account, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. I am Crypto with Nick. I'm a DeFi investor and crypto enthusiast, and I love stablecoins. I used to have my stablecoins spread out all over the place, including things like BlockFi, Celsius, and I even put out this newsletter every few weeks to my Discord. It's free, the link's in bio, but there's nothing as sustainable and well supported as Anchor Protocol. And out of that list that you just saw, the only project that's still paying that 20% is Anchor Protocol. Anchor Protocol is a decentralized savings account that allows you to earn yield on the stablecoin UST, which is native to the Terra blockchain. And on this platform, we can see that there's over $15 billion in total value locks. Anchor Protocol is the perfect place to park your capital, especially in times when the market is a bit unsettling. We can see here back in November, there was only $2 billion deposited into the platform. But when things started to take a turn in December, we can see now that there's over $9 billion deposited. And this is the dashboard for the Anchor savings account. We can see here I have about $10,000 of UST deposited, and it's paying me about a 19.37 APY annual rate. That's going to yield me about $5 a day or $2,000 a year. And Anchor actually pays this interest to you every 7 seconds. And if you're enjoying this video so far, go ahead and consider subscribing and hitting that like button. It would mean the world to me, but let's get back into things. The first thing we need to do to get started is buy some UST, the stablecoin native to the Terra blockchain. You can usually get this from any centralized exchange, but I prefer to use Coinbase Pro. What we can do is we can come over here, we can search for the UST pairing, and we can go ahead and place an order, let's just say for 1,000 UST. You'll notice that the fee is only 10 cents, but you're only going to get 994 UST. And that's because UST, even though it's a stablecoin, it's slightly trading over peg. Right now, $1 is going to equal 1.005 UST. So if you're not in a rush and you're okay with waiting a few days, what I'd actually recommend is come here to the limit section and set a limit price for UST. Usually you can get it around 1.02 or 1.3, and that's definitely going to save you a few dollars. We'll also cover coming up about how UST actually keeps its peg because it's an algorithmic stablecoin, which is much different than something like USTC or USDT. Now, once you have some UST, you are going to need to send it to your Terra Station wallet. So if you don't have one already, you are going to have to set one up. Unfortunately, MetaMask is not supported by the Terra blockchain. So there's a few options here. They have an Android and iOS app. They also have a Chrome plugin, which is what I'm going to use. So we can click here and add to Chrome. Once we add it, we'll have the option, of course, to create a new wallet. You can also import a ledger if that's what you prefer. So we'll create tests here, and let me add in a password for us. And this is going to be our seed phrase here. So make sure to copy this, right? Don't store it online, of course. Write it somewhere safe, but make sure to have it handy. Great, I've entered in my seed phrase. Now we can go ahead and connect and set up our wallet. We can see here, this is going to be our address. So now we bought our UST on Coinbase Pro and we've set up our Terra Station wallet. Now what we do is we have to bridge the funds from Coinbase Pro to Terra. See, when you buy UST on Coinbase Pro, you actually buy an ERC20 version of it, which is the Ethereum version. Now with our UST on Coinbase Pro, what we can do here is we can withdraw it. We'll search for UST and we'll withdraw it to actually our MetaMask. If you aren't familiar with how to set up MetaMask, I have a whole playlist on how to set up MetaMask and getting started in DeFi, but we need to bridge it to Terra. Once those funds are in MetaMask, what we can do is we can come here to the bridging section and bridge from Ethereum to Terra. We're going to want to select the asset of UST, and here we're going to want to put in our destination address. So we can come back here, we'll copy this, and we'll paste it in here. And then what we can do is bridge the funds. Once you bridge the funds, you'll be able to come here back to your Terra Station wallet, do a refresh, and you should see whatever you bridged. Awesome. Now we bought UST and Coinbase Pro, right? We sent it to our MetaMask so that way we could bridge it to the Terra blockchain. And now the money is in our Terra Station wallet. What we can do now is come here to Anchor Protocol and hit the Earn tab. Here you'll have the option to deposit, and what you'll want to do is you can just max it out, but make sure you leave a little bit of UST for gas, right? It even gives you this warning. You need about 25 cents per transaction, so I would always leave a few dollars. Here I'll just go ahead and deposit $1 so that you can see what happens. It's waiting for Terra Station. This is actually connected to my ledger, so I need to do a quick approval. There you have it. It will say waiting for receipt as it waits to load. It usually only takes a few seconds here, but boom, there it is. We have deposited 1 UST and we actually received a receipt token for that. We have received 0.827 of aUST. This is our claim on our deposit. And when you receive that claim on your deposit, that aUST, don't trade it away, don't send it to anyone. You're going to need that if you ever want to withdraw. And the reason why it's not 1-for-1 is because it's an interest-bearing asset. We can see here on the dashboard, 1 aUST is actually equal to 1.208 UST. Coming back to the Earn tab, that's it. If you want to withdraw, all you have to do, click here, you can do withdraw, you would proceed and follow the same steps. Now let's talk about what is UST, because UST is a stablecoin, but it's an algorithmic stablecoin, meaning it's much different than USDC or USDT. As an example, USDC keeps its peg by claiming that it has $1 in cash reserves for every USDC minted, meaning it's always guaranteeing you when you want to redeem that token, you can have your $1 back. But UST is completely different. It's one of the few truly decentralized stablecoins. See, USDC is actually managed by a central authority, Circle. But UST works completely different. It's actually collateralized by Luna, and Luna has been parabolic over the last month, even hitting a new all-time high today. And the reason why Luna has been doing so well is because the demand of UST has also been parabolic. It's even flipped DAI in market cap, and now there's over 14 billion UST out there. And for every UST minted, $1 worth of Luna is burned. And if UST actually ever falls below peg, then what people can do is burn UST to receive $1 worth of Luna and then sell it for a profit. Now, I mentioned that UST is collateralized by Luna, which is completely true, but for the very first time, the Luna Foundation Guard agreed to do a private sale of $1 billion worth of Luna to diversify its holdings and buy Bitcoin. And just a few days ago, the Luna Foundation Guard did it again and decided to add another $418 million to its reserves. Now that we know how to buy UST and deposit it into the Anchor savings account, and we understand what UST is, we should talk about, is this 20% sustainable? The short answer is, over the foreseeable future and over the next year, is 20% sustainable? Yeah, I think so. But over the long run, well, it's kind of complicated. We can see for the last year, it's been ranging around 20%, right? We have a low of around 19.3% and a high of around 19.5%, and it kind of just goes back and forth in this channel. And this yield is volatile based on the profits that the Anchor platform makes. For Anchor Protocol to pay that 20% to depositor, it uses the revenue it generates from other parts of its platform, mainly the money market part where users can borrow and lend. What the amazing thing is with Anchor, you can actually deposit assets like Luna and ETH, and you're being paid to borrow a very small amount, but 0.08% APR. And then what you can actually do is borrow UST against that, deposit it for that 20%, or take it somewhere else in the Terra Luna ecosystem. The problem is when the markets are a little rocky, right, less people are incentivized to borrow, and this is why you see the deposits skyrocketing, why the borrows are trending slightly upwards. And so if the protocol isn't making money, right, it's actually not profitable. And in order to continue to pay out that 20%, what it does is it dips into its yield reserve. And when the protocol is not generating enough revenue to pay that 20%, it actually has to dip into its yield reserves. And we can see here, there's about $450 million on the reserves. Now I had to move myself out of the way so that we can see this chart. This is the yield reserves for the Anchor platform. We can see here for most of the year it's actually pretty stable, right? It didn't change much because the platform was generating revenue. But when the market started to take a turn and people started to pile into stable coins, we could see there wasn't actually enough money being generated from the platform to pay those users. And so it started to dip into the yield reserves. And what they did is actually the venture capitalists that backed this platform decided to top it off, which is why you see this massive spike. So let's talk about the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is if it's unable to pay that 20% with the yield reserves, then this APY would start to decrease. But if the APY starts to decrease, then users invested might flee the platform in search of higher yields. And then in that case, the platform should find an equilibrium between depositors and the yield spent, but it will most likely be below 20%. Now let's talk about some of the risks, because Anchor Protocol is paying 4,000% better than my bank, right? So with any project like this, of course, there's definitely some risks that come with it. Anchor is a blue chip project and the gold standard when it comes to crypto savings account, right? It's backed by an amazing team that's docs. They have well-funded capital investment, and they also are audited. So the risk that comes with Anchor Protocol is going to be broken down into two different sections. One, which is going to be smart contract risk, meaning that the decentralized application gets exploited somehow and the funds are stolen. And the other risk here is that if UST depegs from $1, right, because it is an algorithmic stablecoin backed by Luna and Bitcoin, right, it's not the same as something like USDC, which is a centralized authority and always has $1 in fiat cash ready to go. And if either of these concern you, you can actually buy insurance for the savings account. We can see here, this is actually this section here. This is protect your deposit, and it'll give you a few different options. Nexus Mutual and Unslash are some of my favorites. Unslash is actually going to protect you specifically if UST depegs, and something like Nexus Mutual is going to protect you against if there's an exploit on the platform. For me personally, I'm quite comfortable with Anchor, right? Ever since BlockFi had that new regulation, I've actually withdrawn all of my stablecoins from BlockFi. They're still sitting in my bank account, and I'm slowly putting them in Anchor protocol. Now let's actually quickly go over the tokenomics of the Anchor platform, because if you're interested, Anchor actually has its own token called ANC. ANC for a while used to be a farm and dump token for a lot of people because it was just a governance token, but there's two things that are recently sending it to new all-time highs. The first thing that's changing is the tokenomics. We can see here in year 1, the inflation for the token was 216%, but in year 2, which has just started, it's only 58%. The next thing is a recent governance proposal that was introduced of this concept of VE Anchor, which comes from the Curve Wars. And this is the concept of buying Anchor, locking it up, which means you putting the buying pressure on the token, you're locking it up, taking it out of circulation, and then it allows you to vote on emissions and control what gets the best interest. If you're interested in learning about the VE model, I have another video on the Phantom Network for Solidity, which works with similar mechanics, or I recommend just searching YouTube for someone like Danku R, which has great videos on the VE Anchor mechanics. And I'm going to leave you with one last thing. When you deposit your funds into the Anchor savings account, like we said, where you get that receipt token aUST, you can actually use that token to do so many more things on the Terra Luna blockchain. I would recommend coming here to DeFi Llama and exploring it. One of my favorite protocols is going to be Mirror, which I hope to cover in the next video. We covered so many things today. We talked about how to get UST from Coinbase and bring it all the way over to Anchor Protocol and deposit it to start earning 20% on our stablecoins. We talked about UST and how it keeps its peg, as well as the risk associated with UST and the Anchor platform. We also gave a quick overview of the Anchor token tokenomics and different things you can do with your aUST receipt token, like by visiting Mirror Finance. And if you watch this video and you're feeling confused or lost, don't worry, come follow me on Twitter, come shoot me a message, come join my Discord. I'd love to help you. We have a great community there. All the links to everything will be in the description, but cheers and happy farming.